All right, it's offseason, and in the offseason, we find out some things that were actually happening during the regular season, but we didn't know that they were happening. And one of those happens to the Texans' Laremy Tunsil, where it came out that he actually had surgery on his knee right after the playoffs. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means for the Texans this upcoming season, because whenever you hear knee surgery, you're like, uh-oh. And we're going to talk about something else that I found very interesting in regards to the tackle situation for the Texans. So, without further ado, hey, if you're new to this channel, like and subscribe. If you've been watching for a while, hit that subscribe button. We want more Texans fans here. We've been doing Texans videos for a year. We started with YouTube with the Lions channel. We are Lions fans, but we love teams in the NFL that the media kind of overlooks. And the Texans have traditionally been one of those teams. So we are all over this and have really enjoyed our coverage of the Houston Texans over this past year. So like and subscribe to that. All right, here you go. Here's where you see it. Texans Laremy Tunsil had surgery on knee after 2024 season. This was NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Here's the thing. There are reporters, and the big reporters, what I love, you got your Ian Rappaport, you got your Adam Schefters. There's a lot of guys that when they report something, it actually is true. And that makes me happy. And Rappaport is one of them. And he says, according to Rappaport, the surgery was to repair an issue that caused him to spend time on the injury report this season. Rappaport reported that he will make a swift recovery. So the bad news, dude had to get knee surgery. The good news, he's fully expected to make a very quick recovery, and he should be good to go. In fact, this past year, he played in 77.25% of the team's snaps. In 2022, he played 100% of the team's snaps. This is a guy you want to have out there all the time. All right, and so there are many different things that you can look at. He played through it last year. So here's the question we have to ask ourselves, because I saw an article recently where there was a vote, and it was talking about where do you want the Texans to spend the most capital, or what is the highest position of need? And a lot of people said tackle. This was interesting to me. I thought corner was up there, right? A second corner. A defensive tackle was up there. Running back was up there. But tackle was up there. I found that to be very interesting. Last year, you kind of played this thing, or 2 years ago, it's been interesting. You've had two guys that have played the tackle position at a fairly high level. Titus Howard 2 years ago, or a year ago, and George Fant this past season. So now you're sitting here and you're like, all right, so what are we going to do with that? And so I want to look at each of those guys because I think you have some answers in-house. But if you don't believe me, keep watching this video. We'll talk about where you can go out of house in order to see what your options are. So don't worry, we're going to go in all those directions on this video. So first, let's go with the guy who played the majority of the snaps at right tackle. In fact, 874 of them this year, and that is George Fant. George Fant played almost 900 snaps at right tackle. According to PFF, he allowed 3 sacks, which is not bad at a tackle position, especially at that many snaps. But he did allow 30 pressures, if you look down here. That's kind of rough. But only 3 sacks, 4 hits. Now, a lot of that is C.J. Stroud being C.J. Stroud. When he can see the rush coming from the right side, he's good to go. And he's sorry, God, I'm battling a cold here. I'm trying to get through it, powering through. But he had a pass blocking grade of 69.4. That's not bad. I mean, that is not bad. And I think so many people are like, oh, that's no good. What are we going to do? Whereas you can see the year before that, it wasn't good. All right. Playing at left tackle and right tackle, he played over 500 snaps, and it was really, really bad. You can look 48, 46, 56. So you have to ask the question, like, are you confident with Fant there? I don't know if I am. But then you have to look at another guy, And I thought this was very, very interesting. So Titus Howard, as you know, dealt with some injuries this year. In fact, when you go back, I found an article a while back where it talks, D'Amico Ryans was saying, Titus has done a good job of battling through, Ryan said. I appreciate Titus's toughness and trying to push through and play through some difficult injuries there. Titus is a fighter. I appreciate it. He did a good job for us. But he missed the first 4 games with a broken hand, and then he is out with a knee injury for the rest of the year. All right? He is a guy who had just signed a 3-year, $56 million extension before training camp this past summer. So he still has 2 more years, and you're still paying him a decent amount of money. In fact, he's on the books for $14 million. He has a cap hit of $18, almost $19 million. So, yeah, he's on the roster. So Titus Howard, is he a guy that can play? Well, last year, he was bad, okay? In 400 snaps at left guard, he allowed 18 pressures. That's a lot from a guard position. All right, he allowed a sack. He allowed 3 hits. His grades were terrible. He was hurt. So I want to show you his stats from last year where we all know he played almost solely at right tackle. All right, he has the size. He's only 27 years old. He'll be 28 next year. That's how math works, I guess. All right, look at these numbers. All right, total pressures allowed. Yeah, 38. That's a pretty high number. All right, but allowed 3 sacks, 5 hits. This was not with C.J. Stroud, so that sack and hit number probably would go down with him. All right, but his pass blocking grade was a 70. This is absolutely serviceable for a guy that you're paying money to. This is serviceable. He seems to be a better right tackle than a left guard. So, if you're asking me the question on what would I do, I think the answer is simple. I would move Titus Howard back to right tackle. But what if you don't want to do that? All right, well, then you have a lot of money to spend. And if that's where you want to spend your money, you could go do a 1-year contract on Tyron Smith, but he's been a left tackle and injury prone his whole career. You're not moving him to the right side. You have Trent Brown coming out of New England. This is the guy that I'd be looking at is Michael Onwenu. Now, Michael Onwenu is interesting because he played a lot of interior, all right, offensive line. He's been all over the place. But when playing very much all right tackle last year, he had very similar grades to who you already have, Titus Howard. So you can go out and you could spend money on these guys. You could take a flyer on Mekhi Becton, Jonah Williams, all these types of things, but you're pretty good there. What about the draft? We'll talk about this more as it goes on, but where you're picking, you're going to be somewhere in the rate of like, is this guy a tackle or is he a guard? Graham Barton of Duke, is he a tackle or is he a guard? I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know what he is, but I know that he's played pretty well. Troy Fautanu, that dude probably won't still be there anymore. Like, there are some people projecting him to go in the top 10. All right? And then you get down to guys like Tyler Guyton, who just has, all the intangibles in the world, but has never put together an amazing season. And then a guy like Jordan Morgan, where it's like, okay, maybe he could be it. But again, is he a tackle? Is he a guard? I don't know. So I think you're not in the worst spot. I really don't. And where you're picking and things like that, I just think like maybe you ride with Titus Howard as your right tackle, and then you try and figure out the interior of your offensive line. So let me know if you agree, disagree. I'm not dead set on this. I just think that it kind of makes sense. So, yeah. Leave a comment. What do you want to do at right tackle? Would you rather see them address different positions or mess around with it? You got in 2 years these big contracts coming off the books where you can do something else again. So, all right. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See ya.